you would take your seats and bring your precious attention up front. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ah, what an awesome time, huh? Is this incredible? Let's hear it for everybody. So, it is truly my honor and privilege to be part of the wrapping up of this entire incredible conference, Sacha and me, for our last panel.
Sacha and I, actually.
Sacha and I. Is there anyone who can correct him? There we go. Sacha's my friend.
Okay.
I thought it through before I spoke. I want you to know that. And we have a distinguished panel here again. And as you see, we have doubled our evolutionary flow. We have not zero, not one, but 2 women on stage tonight. 2.5.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh, I love him. You know that. Oh boy. We'll start with fun and we'll end with fun. Truly, we have a distinguished panel again. It's really my honor and pleasure, ours, to conduct this last panel this time. As I think you all know in your heart and soul, GlobalBEM is here to stay. Ah, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. The kind of energy that we contribute as a group to this planet and where we're going and to our society to move the conversation forward it's unspeakable how beautiful it is. And I think we all know that. So tonight, just to open up, to bring us all into the rhythm and the flow of the rest of the panel, we've asked Alea to give us a blessing, a couple of words before she needs to go to bring the energy together under one tent.
Yay. Aloha, everybody. Last night, I was not part of the panel, and when I arrived today, I heard a lot of feedback about the lack of the feminine. And I do want to remind each one of us, we really are not men or women. We have the masculine and feminine within each one of us. We are beings that have been doing our work to become whole. And I offer the heart breath that I've offered a couple times here, and we'll do it again. It's an incredible way to enter into your wholeness and into your harmony. If we are remembering that I love so much what Foster has brought, which is remember everything we do, think, say has to be a win-win-win-win-win for all concerned. Otherwise, it's not worthy. And we are sacred beings, we're worthy, correct? So how are we going to keep that, all that programming to dissolve? A simple method, the heart breath. So let's close our eyes for just a moment together. The panel too, all of us are in this together. No one of us is above each other. We're in different levels of remembering what our purpose is. And as we have our eyes closed, focus your awareness at the heart, at the high heart, below the throat, and watch yourself being breathed, this miracle that you are. In-breath coming in, out-breath going out, remembering the miracle of life is a gift. And it's our job to be good caretakers of this gift. of the mind, the body, the spirit. And the way that we do that is to align all aspects of ourself with the ebb and flow of the gift and connect to source. And as you keep following that ebb and flow, just become aware of the feeling and get that feeling going. Once you have that feeling, it feels like peace. And you know, until each one of us knows how to find that peace within ourselves, align with that peace, we will not have world peace. But each time each one of us lives our life in alignment with that, it radiates out and it affects the collective. So I'm going to ask you today, tonight, to do this every day. Connect, feel, emanate and radiate this through your cellular body first. Activate those cells. In breath and out breath. Amplify it with gratitude for the breath. Amplify the feeling of peace to love. And then breathe it into your auric field, above, below, front, back, and sides. Filling your field with this energy. Learning, as your eyes are still closed, remembering when you look at your brothers and sisters, you're looking with great respect at God standing in front of you as a reflection of you. This is our time to stop projecting our judgments, our insecurities, and to start living from our empowered, balanced, peaceful truth so that we may collaborate and accelerate what we came here to do. Thank you so much. Aloha.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. After speaking yesterday a little bit on Terence McKenna and his eschaton, that transcendental object at the end of time, and the weirdness that would issue once we passed across that 2012 event horizon. Another quote was given to me by a gentleman as I was leaving the tent, which is by Hunter Thompson, which is, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And it is only a few short months since the 2012 winter solstice, where our noble planet conjuncted the intersection of the Milky Way and the plane of the ecliptic. And that resurrected our planet and us from a 13,000-year galactic sleep cycle. And as we look around us and yawn and rub our eyes into wakefulness, the contrast between sheer good and evil, between love and, let's say, the absence of love, becomes apparent to all but the terminally unconscious. All around us, the world of men busy themselves with the pursuit of trivia, whilst the antics of insane leaders pass unnoticed. It is a time when we award a Nobel Peace Prize to one of our own, and on the other hand, empower that same fellow to send fleets of unmanned drones across the skies to foreign lands to rain down the fury of hell on innocent men, women, and children. It is a time when the bravest amongst us, the whistleblowers, the truth sayers, the wayfarers, those who take up the cross of humanity, are set upon and demonized, and they are hunted down for treason. It's a time when, as Foster reminded us earlier, the greatest scientific minds amongst us are ostracized and disenfranchised at best, and assassinated at worst. It is a time when war protesters across the globe are being rounded up for disturbing the peace. And a time when that privately owned commercial enterprise called government is so entrenched in its own mechanistic survival that it is known to carry out most, if not all, of the greatest evils in our time. Engineered poverty, engineered starvation, engineered genocide, engineered destruction of families and communities, the engineered dereliction of health, of education, of justice, and human dignity, and the systemic dereliction of that most precious commodity of all, which is our human sovereignty. And on the subject of human sovereignty, are we aware of the part that each of us play in our own enslavement? Are we aware that we offer ourselves up for harvest? Are we aware that this is how the great spellbinding is actually permissioned by us, through us, alone? Cultures, religions, schools, systems, ideas, bad stories, football matches, rock and roll concerts, wherever they are not anchored in fellowship and in fearlessness, they are bound by time and money and by fear. And we need to know this, and we need to know and recognize the part that each of us play as individuals. One thing has unified this year's conference and the enigmatic messages of all of our presenters and experts, more so even, I think, than last year's conference. And that is the clarion call for an integration, a realignment, and a recognition of our inherent greatness as human beings traveling on a little blue orb, spiraling helter-skelter through the galaxy in a quadrant of a universe. And I'll remind you, it's an electric universe. Do not believe what they tell you in school. It is thriving. It is filled with DNA and light and life and abundance. Encoded in this awakening of human unity is, of course, the very source code of that thing we are all seeking, that free quality. The word free keeps coming up over the last 3 days, which is not, in fact, an energy source per se that we're seeking. It is perhaps only a symptom or a totem of that thing that we are truly seeking, which is our own freedom. Freedom from manipulation, from enclosures, from systems, and the bondage of a civilization which we have now grown out of. And what is the glue that binds us? This quanta of the greatest mystery. In simple terms, the greatest power in the universe is the quanta of the awakened human heart. And this simple, majestic, and ineffable truth is revealed to us and through us every moment of every single day. And it is revealed to us quite simply through our capacity to love and be loved. And in that state of grace, we will now begin the panel discussions. Thank you. Folks, we've got a difficult task ahead of us here because this is a loaded panel. So I'm going to hand it on to Mitch roundabout now.
We are proliferating by the moment, but it's so good because this is testament to the quality of people we have speaking at these conferences, and it's just delightful. And today was so robust; it was wonderful. So I'd like to actually first ask the gentleman and dear friend to my right, Foster Gamble, if you would just please say a few words about what you feel this conference represents and what you feel its potential is for the future in changing the conversation about new energy technologies coming into our world, into mainstream society.
It's okay, you've got 60 seconds, Foster.
One of the things that I so love about this conference is that it's at its overt core a technical discussion. And there is such beauty of heart and such boldness of conversation and such connection amongst people. Just as I walk around and see the electricity happening as people meet each other, and learn better how to support one another. It gives me a deep sense of excitement and relaxation, because we are building the love trust. We're building the buffer zone, the support network that can not only get these technologies out, but take care of each and every one of us and others along the way. So you've heard plenty from me today. That's really all I have to say. Thank you.
You have 2 minutes.
I really want to just reflect the same thing. I just have a tremendous amount of love and gratitude. This is my first time speaking in an event, and I noticed that after I spoke and I kind of relaxed, then I could really see all that was going on. So I felt a little sad that I was been distracted by my own presentation, but I've been lit up today and tonight by the connection and the energy that's flowing in this love trust. It is potent and present, and aho.
Thank you very much. GOA, as you know, works side by side with Foster on all of the projects, Thrive and everything else, helping everything thrive. So we very much appreciate all that you do. I'd like to actually
Three
move...
mics here. We've got 3 mics.
Oh, yes, indeed. I'd actually like to move first to Garret Moddel and to Michael Tellinger, and then we will come back to Sean Davis is here from Boulder, who is a leader in the fracking movement, and he's done hundreds of presentations, hundreds of interviews, and is a real stalwart for the understanding and presenting the understanding of fracking and its dangers. So I'd like to circle around to you at the end of everyone just weighing in, okay? That'd be great. Garret.
Can you remind me of the question?
I'll shorten it. Basically, how do you see this conference having the effect of changing the social conversation about new technologies, in your estimation, especially as an academic coming to this context?
To hell with a conversation. Are we going to get to market, do you think?
So, am I there? So is it turned on now? So
Can you sing?
Hannah, don't ask.
The 1, 2, 3.
Next year, could I bring my drums? That would be better. So what we're gaining clearly are connections. And we need connections because there are many of us in different disciplines and from different perspectives. But what I see is that this is really only a beginning, and we've got a long way to go. Particularly where I come from, that is the world of academia, there are lots of connections that need to be made that have not yet been made. That we're just beginning to break through, but it's going to take a long time. As you know, when a new idea comes up, first people will say, "Oh, I ignore it. I'm not really interested. I don't want anything to do with it." Then, if you keep at them, they'll say, "Okay, well, this is just totally wrong. It's just wrong. You're stupid." And then finally, when you keep at them, they'll say, "Oh, it's obvious. Of course, I agree." And so right now, I think we're still in the ignoring phase for a lot of the academics. And I think we've got a long way to go. Also, just in conversations that I've had here, I've spoken to a number of people who are inventors and seem to have a fantastic system, and also to students and people who want to learn more and work more in this field. And I don't know how to advise them. I don't know what connections can we make for these people to bring them success and to bring all of us understanding. And I don't know yet. So we've got a ways to go.
We'll give you some suggestions.
Thank you.
Okay. Garret Moddel, I also want to just, Sacha and I both want to really salute you for being willing as an academic to come to an environment like this, to a conference like this, and to stand up so boldly as you have and share your thoughts and feelings and ideas. all hear a roundtable discussion on the global BEM and the subjects here on abetterworld.tv. It might even be on the global BEM website, when recently, just 2 weeks ago, Sacha Stone, Foster Gamble, and Professor Moddel was on with me on A Better World TV, and you can listen to the radio show. It was very informative and inspiring. So, thanks again. Michael Tellinger.
Thank
Please
you,
don't
Mitch.
ask me to repeat the question.
No, I'm not. And I'll be very brief. I think I was fortunate enough to be present in Hilversum, Holland last year, being invited there. And I flew in there not knowing what to expect. Obviously, I was completely blown away. I was deeply thrilled and humbled by the response of the people in Holland and Europe and wherever they came from to the message that I brought there. And I'm even more humbled by the response that I had here today, which showed me very clearly that the divide and conquer principle, of which we are all traumatized byproduct of thousands of years of divide and conquer that has been very effectively imposed on humanity, is breaking down very successfully. And an event like this is a clear indicator of how quickly those dividing lines are being dissolved and we are merging into one unified field of consciousness. So give yourselves a round of applause, because this is what we need to carry on doing.
Can we get the microphone to the one of these mics to the end? Mr. Sam Mason.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
Of the Tesla Society, Tesla Foundation, correct?
Tesla Science Foundation, yes. Well, essentially, I feel that this is the best place to be if we really care about a better world. We couldn't be surrounded by a better group of panelists and a wonderful audience, and all of your commitment to making this world a better place is something that we all appreciate. And we're definitely on the pathway to making sure that this is going to be a success.
Thank you. It's delightful. I'm sure that the PsyOps chaps in the van on the outside have listened to that and have taken it to heart.
But it actually does, it does us very well, like particularly from the foundation I'm from. We're very interested in continuing the legacy of Nikola Tesla, and as an advanced research institution, we kind of ride that fringe between validating breakthrough energy, and at the same time also maintaining that decorum expected of academia and such. So we definitely are very pleased to be working with this wonderful group here to actually help with the vetting process of these various technologies. And we hope to see you all at our conferences that are coming up next year.
Great. Wonderful.
Thank you, Sam. We're grateful that you're here, Sam.
Steve Ross.
You're here.
Steve, could you
Hi
also
there.
just comment briefly on the impact that you feel that this conference may yet have on the planet?
I feel very encouraged by the comments that were addressed to me after I spoke the other day. I was very impressed with the heart of the individuals, their particular questions. As I mentioned last night on the panel, I really wanted to throw in the very technical so I could also get into the philosophical after people were engaged in what we had to share. But I want to share a very quick story which I think will underline what I feel this is about. There was a great conference where all the dogs who resided in a particular area all met. And at this conference, all the doggies were together. Some of them hadn't seen each other for years. And the dog star of my story met some of his doggy friends, and they agreed to meet 1 week later at another location. Now, for the doggy star of my story, it would be a 3-day journey. And the next week came, and our dog headed out to meet his friends. And midday of the first day, he wanted to stop and get some food, and came to a new area where there were dogs that he had never met before. And they barked and they howled, and our doggy star said, "Oh, I have to move on." And this continued to happen for the whole day. And when our doggy star wanted to end that evening and sleep, all the dogs of that area barked and howled, and our doggy star had to go on. Well, after a day and a half, our doggy star arrived at his friend's location, and they said, "Wow, you're here a day and a half early." And our doggy star said, "I had a lot of help along the way." Well, I believe that this is very important, because the trials, the tribulations, the creative opportunities that we find through the challenges is what moves us all along. So what do I take out of this? Listening to what individuals have gone through are actually motivational tools to go on. And the heart, the desire to expand and grow is what I have picked up from the speakers, from the people that I have met who took the time to share with me that they were impacted by all the speakers here. So this is my feeling.
Thank you, Steve.
Josh, please say a word with us.
Thank you. First of all, I'm honored and privileged to be on this panel. I want to thank everyone who came up to me last night or today who watched our film Take Back Your Power here last night. Thank you to Jeroen and to Ryan and to the team for setting that up. Online streaming, I understand it just finished before this, so we had a chance to show it there. But I wanted to share a little bit about the meaning that I'm taking from this personally, and also as perhaps as a group, as a movement. In making this film that exposes a worldwide agenda that is not in the interests of anyone but for-profit corporations bent on control, I had to essentially go into a level of consciousness in which it was about pushing through. It's about pushing through mind control and propaganda and unbelievable obstacles in the physical and other realities, I guess you could say. And what I'm learning now is that the wisdom of coming into a place of receiving and coming into a place of letting go. And I've had even a beautiful experience with a couple of friends, new friends here. And just that the power, and perhaps there's a balance that I'm coming to, that we're all coming to, about pushing forward and letting go and receiving the divine that we are, that wisdom, that the source of life and love coming through our heart that animates us, that gives us new ideas, that makes and creates synchronicities and new connections to allow these ideas to come into full manifestation on the planet. Perhaps there's a balance, keeping going, pushing forward, but being receptive to the God force coming within and standing in that balance, in that flow, and creating it by calling it forward, speaking words from that, our higher self, the God self within, and calling it forward in our full authority, even speaking out loud on a regular basis, the reality that we are creating at this time. I want to, in closing, just mention two words that were spoken last night: unified intent. And as I believe there's a self-organizing principle, and that's becoming more and more obvious the more I learn about these technologies and listen to these beautiful people. And I feel that as we trust our heart and as we connect with the source of love within us, the self-organizing principle is harmonious with our unified intent. So we never have to worry about going astray. We're all parts of the body, and the body is here on the planet now at this time to manifest the new kingdom, or queendom, if you will. And it will be manifest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
James Martinez. James, I actually have a direct question for you, and that was that if our planet was met with a visitation of the galactic star family, wait for it, and you were elected to be the only human ambassador beamed across to their mothership, and if you were asked to give a full account for the state of the planet, where would you begin?
Show me the meaning of love. That's a big question, actually.
Without ayahuasca.
Without ayahuasca. It's a big question. Very big question, but let me start by saying this, that last year when we did this, everybody dispersed and everybody went on their way and some people stayed in touch. I'm really excited to know that this is really the beginning. And in the next couple of months, everything that's happened here is going to expand. All of you are going to have a place to go to, that you all be welcome with the people's voice. I think I have that strange feeling that this is the group that's going to make history. I know it. So everybody needs to band together. I know I have a big responsibility ahead of me. If I've not had the time to meet with you individually, I'll probably be talking to everybody that was speaking here, because all of you will be on the People's Voice coming up in the next couple of months. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I had no idea that it would be like this. I know it had significant changes, but I'm looking forward to beginning the new world, shall we say.
Beautiful. Thank you, James Martinez, and also thank you for your incredible persistence over time through awesome obstacles.
Bravo.
And truly, you deserve applause.
All right, thank you.
Josh Toms.
Hello.
Just take 2 minutes, if you would, and give us a quick sketch of the nature of reality through sacred geometry. I know you're up for it.
Man.
Just introduce yourself. That'll do fine. We'll get back to you.
My name's Josh, and I just want to thank everybody for going out for the photo op, for the Million Volt March. Tesla Science Foundation got that going. The Global Breakthrough Energy Movement, such an amazing group of people allowing this to happen. And it's essentially through our collaborated, collective, supportive upliftment that is going to really bring liberty back into America and into the rest of the world. We're on that brink, we're on that precipice, and I feel that things are only going to progress more positively if we embrace each other and the people in this room.
Bravo.
Just a quick word to say, isn't it fabulous to see such young people here, so committed and so alive?
Thank you so much.
Yes, it really is.
Stefani,
Paulus.
take that microphone, girl.
Indeed, this is one of the backbones of the global BEM movement, and who helped to put all of this together here. So a big round of applause for Stefani.
Goodness. Well, all I can tell, I'm usually the one pushing people out on the stage. But all I'm going to tell you, and I want you to remember this, the word no, N-O, has a 24-hour shelf life. We heard the word no 2.5 weeks ago. And my fellow members, good old Fernando, he showed up. We went out scouting for locations, and we found one. And God bless all of you. You showed up. You're 10 times more than we thought. And I'm going to tell you, this is the first, this is the beginning, and it is the start. So from now on, just remember, no has a 24-hour shelf life.
Good girl. And if any of you are wondering who the sexy guy on my left is, who's somewhat threatening my turf, It is Sean Stone. And Sean, please tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing. Most of us do know, but for those looking in, what do you do? And I know you've only arrived, today's the first day at the conference, but what does a conference like this represent in real terms?
Okay, thank you, Russell Brand. I'll get into that in a second. As a conspiracy theorist, I would say the conspiracy is working very nicely. This is indeed, as you call the breakthrough energy movement, and this is itself a breakthrough. From my personal point of view, it's very rewarding to be here, just participating in the panel, because people like David Icke and Sacha I've known for many years. David Icke's work, I've known David Icke through his work for about 10 years now. Sacha I knew in London 10 years ago, and then so many countless other people like Ore King and Michael Tellinger, and so the list goes on. Richard Dolan, their work has come to my attention over the past 10 years or so, and more recently through Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura, the show that I was doing. So it's really amazing to have worked in this field across the board of trying to sort of synthesize our understanding of reality, right? Because growing up in the post 70s, I guess you'd say, the post New Age awakening, we have to redefine what reality means, and then you get this great literature from many different sources, and yet I have yet to see such a successful conference come together with all of these luminary figures. And so this is a breakthrough, and I think that from here it's just going to advance, and each year I think you'll have more and more great speakers coming forward, more and more scientists, and by next year you should be generating your own power for this event. And I say we go for the World Expo next year. Let's do the World Exposition on free energy, and enough of these tents. There should be like a real festivities, like a circus with bright lights, and the Tesla Tower out there, and that'll be really the proof in the pudding that we are serious and we have succeeded. So, and according to some people we've interviewed on Conspiracy Theory, that's possible. Now, just to let you know that currently after Conspiracy Theory, I'm currently hosting a show called Buzzsaw. We've interviewed people like Foster Gamble, like James Martinez, and hopefully more of the speakers that you've seen over the course of this conference will be coming on Buzzsaw. And ideally, we'll be linking up with David Icke's The People's Voice, which is going to launch next month. So the point is that we're really trying to be a groundswell for, again, the new conception of reality that is not three-dimensional, physical, but truly spiritual, energetic. That's what life is. It's energy, right? And we know that, and we don't want to be slaves to other people and living in debt to other gods. We want to be empowered to create and create for ourselves. So I'll turn it back to Sacha Stone.
This is for you guys. Mitch, I apologize wholeheartedly. I couldn't make your speaking engagement today, so I know nothing of that which you spoke of. Do forgive me, but can you please synthesize?
You can hear it on the GlobalBEM website.
Good. Can you, in 3 minutes, please summarize your experience here today and what this conference means?
Oh, sure. First of all, I want to just thank everybody who did show up for my talk today. It was wonderful to have you, and I love the beautiful feedback that I received from so many of you. We were really looking to hit that note of the psychological and emotional domain of human life as we progress, as people interested in creating sustainability and a planet of harmony. And this is something that gets overlooked a bit in this conference as we learn about vacuums and all sorts of really far out magnetic technologies and the rest. All of this is beautiful, but the call was really to bring us back to humanity, that all of that is in service to us and our own happiness and our own well-being. So some of you who didn't see it like Sacha would go to the website and watch it at your leisure. So, but in terms of what this conference is, and this is the second one that Sacha and I both have participated in, as well as many others, it's just, it's refreshing, it's encouraging, it creates hope, and it's incredibly exciting to be part of this incredibly vital, unswerving commitment to creating a better world, and I'm honored and pleased to be part of it. So that's really how I feel. We're going in one direction, and it's a good one. Despite all obstacles, I'll just say one last word. We have to learn how to specialize in the impossible. Right?
Right.
Beautiful.
Foster, my first question is to you, and it's actually the only desperately serious question I have this evening, and that is that if you had the full attention of Congress in the United States and the entire General Assembly of the United Nations for 3 minutes, what would you say?
That's not I would say thank you for your intention to serve, and I would invite you all to wake up and realize that you're actually coercing people's lives, you're stealing their money, and you're ruining the planet. So let's... How much do I have left? So let's get together and actually plan the transition out of any authoritarian state toward a truly free society where we can actually be free to access energy. We can be free to have honest and voluntary exchange, and where we can honor the wholeness of ecosystems and the wholeness of every single individual. So you guys are obviously, committed to something. So let's just tweak that a little and do it together.
Thank you, Foster Gamble. Now we're going to turn our attention to a gentleman who has tirelessly put his attention and life into bringing greater awareness and attention to this incredibly important subject called fracking, hydrofracturing. It's fracturing our earth. It's causing untold damage to our water supply. It's happening here in Colorado. It's happening in virtually every state. If you haven't seen the film in that regard called Gasland by Josh Fox, I'd really recommend you do. He's actually got the second version out as well, too. And Sean has been, as I said, tireless on the path of helping to wake people up, and I'd love to bring this down to the grassroots right now and have you share with us what's been going on and what you feel we need to know.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, Duncan, Stefani, Mitchell, and Sacha, for allowing me this opportunity. I think it's a great collective. It's a glorious consciousness. I mean, look at all of these beautiful people. So it's such a great sort of a nursery of these incredible ideas to grow this BEM and into the future. As far as fracking, we all know that it is a global invasion. The world reserves are showing that there are $170 trillion worth of natural gas and oil that are buried in the shale formations. The old school method of actually extracting the anticline, or those wildcatting days, are over. And so now this is a last-ditch effort to steal all the minerals from planet Earth that can be had. So this is a last...
Why are they over?
Pardon?
Why are they over?
That's a great question. It's overconsumption. Many different reasons. I think that we are forced to buy what the oligarchy has to sell us. We don't have energy democracy. It's clear that we don't. And like everybody's been talking about, we need this free energy. We need this energy democracy. But the oil and gas industry is an oligarchy. They're not going to allow that to happen at all. And so about 4 years ago, I'm a researcher and a data miner as well. I got a phone call from somebody asking them to help them with some information in the state of Colorado here. They had a fracking well pad near their house. Well, at that time, I really didn't know what fracking was, but they gave me the link to the state's website. And so it took me 6 months to map out the architecture of the state's website, to truly understand how the states are actually suppressing the data. So no matter where you live, your governments are suppressing the reality and the actual adverse impacts that this industry imposes on your ways of life, the air, the water, and the soil, and your health. And so at that time, I decided to volunteer my life for the last 4 years, volunteering, not receiving a penny, to create grassroots organizations in Colorado. Now we have about 36 organizations, 50,000 activists. We have 5 moratoria and 2 bans. Some of the data that I've uncovered clearly shows, and keep in mind this is official data that's unredacted, it's stamped by the state of Colorado, proving unequivocally that our aquifer has been contaminated by thermogenic methane, which is a fracking gas. It's a totally different isotopic fingerprint than biogenic methane, and EPA known fracking fluid toluene. 40% of all groundwater spills, operator oil and gas spills on the surface, 40% of those cause groundwater contamination here in Colorado. And so your data exists and it's yours. You pay for that and you should request that and you should acquire as many documents as you can. I have millions of them. So
Give us a website. Is there a website?
My website is fractivist.com or .org. That's without the K. It's the real definition. So it's FRACTIVIST. So over the course of 4 years, I just want to give a kudos to France, by the way. The High Court in France just yesterday or the day before confirmed and approved a full ban in France on fracking. So part of this issue is to be an activist. You know, when I started, there weren't anybody. There was nobody here. And so your voice is really small. But what I realized was, you know, I'd go out with a suit and tie and I'd give over 250 presentations in 30 counties. Now there are 13 documentaries and so many different things that we're doing now that we've reached 3 different generations now of activists. I have 13-year-olds that I mentor, help them with their presentations. They go and do their own thing. They are just true warriors now. 13-year-old kids. Now we have a generation that would be my parents and then me in their 30s and 40s. So we've got this major resistance, and it's a global resistance that you can clearly see, but we don't have the media. And this is an incredible outlet for us to get this point across and these facts across. So you have the power in your hands to make that change only if you take that and make that change. So what we have is we all have to unite against this imperialistic society, right? This oligarchy that forces us to buy what they have to sell. And the only way we can do that is to make their stuff obsolete. Yeah. And so all of your ideas can do that. And I'm so, again, honored to be here that we can all collectively come together. This is not a glorious accident. This is a glorious consciousness. So thank you very much.
Sean, before we let you go, can we drink a clean glass of water in Colorado today?
Well, we just had a major flood, or Colorado's first tropical rainstorm.
The first
climate change was
years.
yesterday. We have a climate crisis, okay? So there's 300 million gallons of sewage that went into our rivers. So when you consider that, plus the flood path paved its way through the highest active density of well pads in the United States, taking with it 2,000 oil and gas well pads, destroyed them. So all of those petrochemicals in the fracking fluids have been released, discharged into the environment. So I would go up into the mountains a little bit further and have a drink of water.
Or use a very good water filter.
Definitely.
Sean, thank you so much for your good work. We so appreciate your being here.
My question to Michael Tellinger. Are the Anunnaki behind fracking? That's another serious question, by the way.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Look. The way I see it, you said in your talk that 285,000 odd years, right? Genesis.
Yeah.
285,000 years.
Yeah.
I've always had this burning question since I read Sitchin's stuff, which is, if they were so smart as to have got here through God knows how many star systems, you know the question, right? Why would they need to engineer us to dig for gold? Why don't they just beam the gold up? Surely that you can identify, even now from satellite, we can identify where gold is. And we also know about levitation technologies. Is there an answer to that?
Well, that's an answer many people have asked. And I guess a question many people have asked. I don't really have a clear answer for that. I just go by the information we get in the texts. The answer that I've come up with is that a being is expendable. If you build a machine, it'll break. You've got to keep fixing it. If you create a creature that is intelligent enough to take orders, they can breed and breed and breed. They're expendable. You can just keep breeding them. You don't have to fix them. You can just get rid of them. And I know it's a horrific thought, but that is unfortunately the possible horrific reality that we have to face. When you start going down that rabbit hole, you have to be prepared to face some sobering historical realities, possibilities that are not pretty. And
forgive me, we're not quite throwing it out to the audience just yet. Can Mike just finish the question? But hold on to that, please.
Yeah, don't confuse. Sorry, I must make it very clear that if people are still confused about, the great creator or the great architect or the God with a big G, as I call it in my book, and the gods with a small g, please refer to that. And that's a completely separate discussion to what we're talking about here. So let's not get sucked into that, because that becomes a very interesting.
Thank you.
So,
okay, and did you want to finish off?
Well, I'm just saying the answer is it's easier to breed a creature that can just keep breeding and keep working for you because they're too dumb to realize any better than to having to build machines that keep breaking and having to fix the machines.
Great. So Mike Tellinger has put it on the record that the Anunnaki are in fact behind fracking. That's good to hear. And one other question, because I wanted to ask you this when you were in London the other day, and I never got to ask you. I had Jose Arguelles. I don't know if you ever knew him, but we were friendly, and he spent about a month with me at my home in Bali. And he mentioned to me that he had published in the 1970s a map of the node points in the sky that he had divined through his own extraordinary divinations were the sort of node points of this sky grid. And it was to his eternal regret, because he noticed a few years later that those node points were exactly where the military-industrial complex placed the 28, is it odd, eye-in-the-sky satellites, exactly on those node points. I don't think he ever quite forgave himself for that. But were you suggesting earlier today that that is, by definition, what is imprisoning us, that sky grid, or is that the Rubicon to the Hermetic as above, so below? What is the mystery of the sky grid?
It's a good question, and I don't really have a very clear answer to that. But I do know the people that can look at, if you still have the nodal points and the information about that grid. I know the people that can look at it and scan it and see if it's still there and in what state it is.
Those node points are where we see those satellites blinking green and red all around the planet.
Okay, but I'm talking about if there is an extended grid that runs from those node points, and if it actually is active or what it's doing. I know the people that can do that.
Okay, great. And
measure that.
Have you copyrighted Stonut? Because if you haven't, you've got to do it. Because we heard that.
What is it?
Stone nut, you said. A stone donut.
Stone donut?
Yeah, it's a stonut.com. Come on. I think it's going to become the founding sort of totem to a new world religion, Michael, thanks to Foster and you.
Sacred donuts. I like that one. Yeah, sacred donuts.
I thought you meant stoned nuts.
Take your pick. Thank you. Great. Actually, my next question was to Stephen Ross, because I missed this the other day. If you could grab a microphone.
Yes.
Whether we speak in terms of coming into alignment with the breakthrough civilization, as Richard and Catherine have taught us, or phase conjugating, as Dan Winters would have it, or as Steve Ross, as you mentioned, You remember to us the wonderful words of Paracelsus. Every star that exists within the cosmos has a foci point within us. My suspicion is that you're actually an alchemist, and I think we should out you at this conference. If you had 3 minutes and the full attention of the entire body of the FDA and the AMA, what would your message to those troglodytes be?
First, I would use my alchemical abilities to put them in a state of mind that they would be not only completely receptive, but they would agree with every single thing that I said. Then I would share with them that it's also their family, friends, relatives that pass away. And with all the money that's been spent after all this time, you read in the newspaper, you see on the television that most of the people die of cancer, that this has not been solved at all. And I would just remind that body just very, very quickly that it's them also, that life is something that's very precious. But as I said, I would definitely use the alchemy that you spoke of, because what is that alchemy? It's love. It's very, very simple. If you put out that vibration, that is what I would do for 2 minutes and 50 seconds, because they are very hard-hearted. And then for the last 10 seconds, I believe if their hearts were open, and if I believe if anybody's heart is open, everything you look at, everything you view, you see in a different light. So that's what I would do.
Thank you. Dr. David Martin, I know you're in the house, sir, and you're on your telephone. Stop it. Could you take a microphone, because I have something to throw at you here. Thank you. David.
Yes, sir.
Foster spoke earlier about the BRIC, I think, central bank consolidation of wealth and devolving the power from the IMF and the World Bank. And I felt you itching in my psyche. Do you have a comment on this? Because my instinct, which is very aligned to yours as a rule of thumb, suggested that this may well be another Babylonian handicraft that we're dealing with. But what's your sense of what Foster said?
Well, first of all, I think we have to realize Foster was referring to actually something that's relatively new. It's been a fairly recent phenomenon, but actually if you go back 3 years ago, there was a very interesting tipping point. Very few of us are aware of this, but when the IMF was actually established, as well as the founding charter of the World Bank, there was a mechanism to create what's called SDRs. And SDRs are a non-monetary transaction currency, which was actually essentially a vote of no confidence option in the global monetary system. And if you look at the World Bank in the last 2 years, an enormous number of the grants that they are giving out are actually given out in SDRs. They're not denominated in dollars or euros or anything else. And it's worth just diving into this just for a moment, because what it is an existing vote of no confidence. If you go back and look about 3 years ago, BNDES, the Brazil National Development Bank, actually had more assets than the World Bank. And very few people pay attention to this. If you go back and look at how the World Bank is funded, it's a membership organization. And as a membership organization, it's been running consistently at a relatively meager influx. And BNDES, as a single development bank in Brazil itself, was actually larger than the World Bank by total assets. What has happened is two things, and this illusion that's happening right now around allegedly the debt ceiling, which isn't. There is no ceiling in the illusory realities that certain politicians live in. So the idea that they even come up with the concept of a debt ceiling is somewhat ephemeral. But this idea is actually something that you need to, once again, go back. And these are all things that you can go and double check, because what I do is I try to make sure that we have a lot of transparency on things that allegedly are understandable. They actually are very understandable. 3 years ago, the Chinese officially marked down their treasury holdings. They actually reduced them by 30%. Now, those of you who are not familiar with the way capital markets work, if in fact we still had the full faith and confidence in the dollar or in the treasury, what would have happened if somebody came along and said, we're going to mark down the assets 30%, which means that every dollar is now worth 70 cents. That markdown would have been met with an auction immediately where somebody would have stepped in and said, if you think it's only worth 70 cents, I'll buy it back from you for 80 cents or 90 cents. That's how the markets actually work. But the actual default of the US Treasury happened 3 years ago, when the Chinese government actually officially marked down their reserve holdings, and we did not step in to buy them at par, which is actually what somebody who had faith and confidence in their system would do. When you actually have somebody actually voluntarily mark down those assets and you don't do anything to actually go back and say, we disagree with you, we see these things as having value, you have effectively defaulted. Okay, so the illusion of the default is an illusion. And what is happening right now, to Foster's point, and it's actually a reserve-banked approach, and that is in fact the case. Foster's comments earlier in his presentation are in fact the case. These are reserve-backed notes, but they're reserve-backed against a basket currency. And the basket currency that is being contemplated right now is actually aggregating metals and energy as a combined aggregate basket. There is a debate right now going on, and the debate involves the BRIC countries in their conversation about whether they're going to include water as a redeemable currency. There is a thought piece that was put together in 2006 that is actually officially introduced by the Saudi ambassador to China. And you heard me say that correctly. Saudis introduced a water currency proposition because they've determined that that's actually more important in their future than oil. If the Saudis have already determined that clean, potable water is more important than oil, then when we think about this basket currency, we need to be aware that what it's going to do is it's actually going to indenture in a sovereign-backed currency energy, clean water, and potentially metals. And so when you put all of that together, it's important to realize that Foster's comment, which is this kind of emerging awareness that the BRIC initiative is to form this counter to the Bretton Woods Accord, which is where the US dollar-denominated hegemony has come from, which, by the way, only exists as long as OPEC exists. The minute OPEC ceases to exist, Bretton Woods hegemony goes away. And as a result, what's happened is the Chinese recognizing that their treasury is now marked to market much lower than it was before. They had already marked it down 30%. Now they're probably estimating it down at about 50%. So they've already devalued the currency base. And internally, if you look at the transition of the Chinese government, the State Council's last transition, the 11th, fifth five-year leadership program, their most recent transition actually involved a reset, which involved the inversion of production, so that the Chinese are now producing for internal consumption rather than for the export markets. And that internal inversion is a very important point, because to support a new reserve bank, you actually have to have a faith and confidence in an internal currency. And so Foster's comments are spot on. The currency is, in fact, a materials-backed currency. The wild card right now, which is still unresolved, and there are a couple wild cards in this, which is good, but the couple of wild cards are whether potable water is going to be part of the sovereign reserve back. But at least it will be metals and it will be energy, and it is, in fact, in process.
Good, thank you. Hold the mic, because there's thank you. That's a classic Dave Martin answer.
Thorough.
Foster, are you happy with that? Okay. The other question, the last one, Dave, for you was, I've had a number of people connect with me over the last few days, knowing one of my passions is outing the business of birth bonds. And is this something you're able to speak on? I mean, a number of people know nowadays that we are bonded at birth. We are registered, offered up to Rex or the king or the sovereign, all that nonsense. We are flipped into a birth bond and then traded on the stock market for great sums of money, in point of fact. It's never disclosed to us. But where the Babylonian mysterium nonsense comes in is when we are registered, we are in fact codified as being dead souls. And we're then cast adrift on an ocean of doubt and misgiving under admiralty law, the law of commerce, maritime law, and the rest is, as they say, history. And our history, of course, is peppered with one thing alone, and that's enslavement. Is there a way, do you understand as an economist and somebody working in this rarefied echelon of money, are you aware of a modality, a mechanism, a way in which human beings can begin to claim back their birth bonds and hold to account those entities who have been responsible for this enslavement?
Two questions, and I'm going to just respectfully reiterate my comments from yesterday. The reason why I'm dogmatic about not promoting the terminology of funding and money is not merely an ephemeral objection. It is, in fact, this objection. We actually support our own enslavement by actually using the utility of our own enslavement. And the minute we actually stop using that utility of our own enslavement, we actually begin a process of disentangling ourselves from the system. So the answer is, if you're actually still in love with this idea of a debt-based currency that is actually allegedly your succor in life, the answer to your question is you're screwed. You are dead floating on a sea of nothingness. One of the things that's actually quite critical is for us to take very seriously the idea that, the ancient wisdom of word becoming flesh is not just a metaphor. Once we actually start using a different language, and this is the conversation we had a little bit last night, once we actually start using a different language, and we actually expect that in our exchange of value, we are not using a surrogacy that is sanctioned by the state. The value that we exchange is actually not feeding into the yield of those investments. And the minute we step away from that, which is the reason, by the way, why you're encouraging more and more people, if you look at US television lately, you'll notice that life insurers are actually trying to get you to buy more life insurance. Every TV advertisement that you see has a life insurance company trying to sell you more life insurance. Why? If you actually look at it, the system that they built has failed. In the last 18 months, insurance companies have actually realized that they have built actuarial tables betting on your death prematurely. And you are outliving your insured life. There are now policies, and this is serious. I mean, go and look, and you can now buy the insurance for outliving your life insurance. And it's actually a real thing. It's a real product that's being sold. The great thing is you can choose not to buy it. Okay? You actually can choose not to fall for this. You can actually choose not to be part of your own indenture. You can equally choose, and Foster made, I think, a really brilliant point. Between here and the whatever the next is, there's still going to be things like taxation. There's still going to be things like the way the machine actually goes through transformation. That's going to still happen. But you, as an individual, can begin the process of disentangling, and by disentangling, you can actually start reducing your return on investment. By doing that, you literally are taking the energy out of the system of your enslavement. And so the trick is actually to get into things like promissories or commitments or covenants between people. These contractual rules, which actually go back to Roman law and predate Roman law, they go back into very ancient codices. If you go back and look, contract law, which is an agreement between two parties, is actually sacred between those parties. And what you have the capacity to do, and what we collectively can do, is actually begin a process where at the next conference, we can actually have part of the admission be a commitment or a pledge of service or a pledge of gratitude or a pledge of promotion or a pledge of something else, so that we actually start our own practice of disentanglement. And that's the trick. We need emancipation, but we have to begin it here. And the best way to actually decouple this is actually to step into a world in which we understand that when we become a negative return on investment, investors will stop buying what we were willing to sell. We, the people, have the capacity to do that. And we as a community have the capacity to do that. The best way to actually become a rotten investment is stop being an effective yield generator in that investment.
Dr. David Martin, thank you.
Sacha, just what David touched upon there is really interesting that you brought that up, David, because in the last two workshops I did in South Africa, in Johannesburg and in Cape Town, there were the talent exchange program that was started in South Africa approached me and said, look, we got about 40 people that want to come, but they want to pay with their talents. So I said, great, bring it on. So now, because I opened myself to that, I've got all these things talents that I can tap into, and people that have offered to do all kinds of incredible things to me that I haven't even begun to tap into. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it's that funny dialect we speak in the South.
Nice one. Good.
Ubuntu has begun, Michael. I know that's what you wanted to talk about at the end of your talk today, so you've had some opportunity. Thank you, David Martin. That was awesome. The level of entanglement is so subtle and severe that just was outlined so eloquently that it's hard to actually fathom if you aren't aware of this kind of play that has been going on among the masters and the slaves for a long time. So now we would like to really open up the conversation to you and have you input to us. And why don't we start with this?
Do we have a floor microphone?
Great. And here we go. No. This is for the tape, which means for the rest of the world.
Okay, my question...
Yes, and if you would please stand up too.
Oh, yeah, sure. So David brought up something that I thought was interesting about water being a commodity. Being a commodity. And this is for Shane. I have a question about how much water is used in fracking and what happens to it after it's used, because I think it's an important subject.
Yeah, it's a great question. Generally, she's stealing my water. Get her. No,
Just
we're a
the
good
beginning.
That's the beginning. The oil and gas industry uses far more than that. Every single wellbore, on average, that the industry uses to frack uses anywhere from 2 to 8 million gallons of your fresh, potable drinking water. In Colorado, we have about 52,000 active oil and gas wells. We're set to have over 100,000. So we can do simple math. We'll do an average of 4 million gallons per 52,000. Can anybody do quick math? That's trillions of gallons of our water, which gets removed from the hydrological cycle forever because it's contaminated with all of their chemicals, their radioactive materials, to include the produced water that they encounter and the naturally occurring radioactive materials below ground. So that comes back up. It's called flowback and produced water. It's mixed. They have to actually take it and inject it into underground storage places called Class 2 injection wells, which are highly unregulated because, according to the Halliburton loophole in 2005, Dick Cheney, thank you, Dick Cheney, major provisions of federal protective laws like the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, there are key provisions in there that are actually exempt for the industry. So they have this sort of a rogue system that is highly unregulated. So all of this water gets removed from our hydrological cycle. So every drop of water they use, it's going to rain that much less. Pardon? That's for every single wellbore, like this right here would be considered an actual wellbore, a frack job per se, 2 to 8 million gallons for every single one. And keep in mind, we have about 52,000 here already, and we're set to have about another 50,000. Consider millions of oil and gas wells across the United States.
Before I pass the mic for other questions, I just wanted to make a quick comment also to the people watching live on the web stream about what we can do to further this information, because I see a untapped market for investors that is being blocked from language barriers. So if people could pick their favorite breakthrough energy videos, their favorite conferences, and translate them, do a voiceover in your language over the existing video, and try to break the language barriers so that everybody in other countries can see the material that these people have already
Could you
done.
just say that in Urdu, please, and in Mandarin?
Ni hao ma. So, next question.
Very nice.
Just a quick comment. Hello, is this live? No.
You can.
Hello?
Oh, okay. It takes a few mics around here. Okay, just a quick comment, Sean, that you arrived tonight, but over the last couple of days, it's been made abundantly clear by many of our speakers and participants who are aware of ways of deactivating radioactive wastewater and contaminated water. So it's not an excuse for allowing fracking, but it does at least say that water won't be lost to the hydrologic cycle. Okay.
That's great.
And we can, next time you'll come earlier in the conference and you'll learn about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
It's another industry. The oil and gas industry is going to dominate, which is water for clarification.
Yes.
We've been approached numerous times. They have all these systems. For organizing, this is great.
Good point. Something for us to be wary of yet more, right? Exactly.
Any questions from the audience?
Yes.
We've got this gentleman here in the front.
Did you bring the
Oh, you've got the mic there. Start, please. Go ahead.
This is directed towards Sean. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Which Sean?
Sean here.
Shane?
Shane.
It's actually Shane. Yeah.
Shane.
Shane.
It's Irish. We're good.
Thank you very much for your efforts with the fracking, letting everyone know what it is, defining it for everyone. I just want to let everyone know that the Pacific Northwest has been targeted for coal train exports.
Can you speak closer? I'm so sorry.
The Pacific Northwest has been targeted for coal train exports to China. There's 6 proposed terminals that'll probably send millions of tons of lignite coal from Wyoming to China over the next they have enough probably for the next 25 years. And of course, China will burn it and it'll drift over here. But I have some good news of late. I've been volunteering for about 2 years protesting the coal train terminals. And the good news also for Dr. Martin, for what he said, coal train exports have become a bad investment. And Goldman Sachs actually has said this, and I think it's because of our efforts of thousands of people. I mean, we had 3,000 people at one of the hearings in Seattle show up. Overwhelming. They only had seats for like 1,000 people at the Washington State Convention Center. It's just overwhelming the public outcry on this. And so Goldman Sachs has recently come out and said it's a bad investment. The investors are pulling out as we speak. And 3 of those terminals, one of them was in Oregon, Longview, all up the coast, Bellingham. Bellingham's so beautiful. They started building the terminal without even public input, right on public land, on Lummi tribal land. And people saw it and said no. And they backed off. All of a sudden, the hearing started. This has been going on for like 3 years. And the main decision is going to be made next year, 2014. But basically, 3 of the terminals they're totally off the list now.
Have you set up a Thrive hub in your community
No.
to address this?
No.
I'm quite serious because that's the most efficacious way
Right.
in our estimation.
You're absolutely right. Okay. So thank you very much for your efforts. And it's been trying, but we're succeeding. The spirit
Speak
is
about
succeeding.
Tell them how you got rid of the spraying just in months, 6 months?
But yeah, if you want to link up with the Thrive Network, you don't need to be officially affiliated with Thrive. You don't need to call it Thrive or whatever. You can just register your organization on our Solutions Hub. There's right on the homepage. It makes it very clear how to do that. And then basically, in this case, you guys were so effective that you can teach other people how to do that. What Greg is referring to is that when George Bush Jr. expropriated $1 billion from Homeland Security to spray 11 million Northern California for up to 10 years with toxic sprays, endocrine disruptors, carcinogens, mutagens, and so forth. We used this solutions model, this sector model, getting together and in town hall meetings, and then having sign-up tables where the lawyers would sign up, and the scientists, and the doctors, and the media people, and the artists, and the conflict resolution specialists. And then we had a toroidal communication system where each group would select someone to represent them. People would meet on Tuesday or Wednesday night, and then a representative would go on Sunday night to meet with a central committee to report on what was going on in the in the other sectors, and then to take the brainstorming that went on there back to their group. And it created this torus of communication that went with the vector equilibrium of the structure of actually covering every sector. So for some groups, that approach is very effective. For others, it's not the right one, but we would welcome you to the Solutions Hub if that would work for you, and congratulations on what you've done. That's huge.
Tell them how fast you did it.
Oh yeah, we were able to stop the whole thing in 6 months with about $40,000.
That's beautiful. This is people in action.
This gentleman here, and then
This is
there's
great.
a gentleman in the back there.
By the way, did you hear that the Monsanto stock has recently gone down?
That's not great news for the crowdfunding. We were going to buy the company.
It'll be cheaper, Sacha. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is PJ. I'm a filmmaker. So my question is to Foster, Campbell, and Sean Stone. I am in
Which?
both of you guys.
At the same time?
Well,
we don't do
either
by
one.
location here.
Either one.
Okay.
I'm in the final stage of post-production on a film, Polarity, on suppressed energy technology. And as a filmmaker, I feel like, and in the new media in general, we run into some of the similar issues to the energy people, in that if you want to talk about a subject that is very controversial, just like if you want to come out with a very controversial technology, you can't really go to the standard sources of revenue, nor can you go to the standard sources for distribution, because they have interests that are not in common with you. So I was wondering if you guys have any suggestions, not just for me, but for new media people in general, on how to get around that, how to succeed in this new market.
Well, I would say the good news is that there is no standard source of revenue anymore. The studios don't have any money, that's for sure, and there's not much in this country. So, the point is that you've seen an explosion in independent cinema over the last 12, 13 years especially, and there's a reason for it, because there's a lot of money floating around within private investors' hands, for better or for worse. Films are being made cheaper, and that allows for products to get made. If you can find a few $100,000, depending on the size of the project, it can be done more easily than it was before, let's say. But of course, you can't rush the filmmaking process. I mean, a film is a film. No matter, you can take any number of Oscar-winning films and look at how many years they were floating around as scripts, and even those that were made by studios took sometimes 10 years, sometimes longer. So, in terms of making your film, I would simply say, try to, it's a process. Try to find interested private investors. Piece it together. It is not like TV. If you make a movie, you can get it out through different means. It doesn't mean you have to go theatrical. It doesn't mean you have to go through the studio distributors. I don't know. I don't know I don't know what you're making, but don't discount the fact that there are good stories that are picked up and made. I mean, I think I saw The East recently, which was an interesting film about so-called environmental terrorists, and it's a very anarchic. It has an anarchic feel to it, or anarchistic kind of tendency within the narrative, and so that was released by one of the I think one of the smaller studio. I mean, the studio's smaller arms. So, even if it wasn't through a studio, the point is it still got distribution. So the point is that there are means of getting these movies out there, and if it's a well done movie, it will be seen. It will go through Netflix. It will go online. You can sell foreign. There's a lot of means of getting your movie out there. So it's not a conventional formula anymore of going to Warner Brothers and trying to pitch your story and getting it in 3,000 theaters. It's just trying to get that movie made however you can, and fighting to make sure that eyeballs get on it, and then promoting it and moving on to the next one.
But wouldn't People's Voice be a great platform for new movie makers? Because he's got a 24-hour radio and TV channel. It's going to need content. It's a hungry beast. It consumes content. So this is, I believe, going to be a great platform for movie makers and documentaries very soon.
And I have the benefit of having chatted a little bit with PJ last night. And as I understand the state of your movie, you actually did a Kickstarter type thing, raised the $10,000 successfully, and created a feature film, which is almost done. So congratulations. So obviously the film needs to carry itself, and I haven't had a chance to see the trailer or the film yet, and I'm looking forward to it. But if it's good enough that it's really connecting with people, then do every interview you can, because that's inexpensive marketing, and you can't market. Individuals just can't market movies the old way. It's outrageously expensive, but you also don't need to, and that's probably not your market anyway. So this type of network, if you've got a great product, will spread the word very fast. And there are people like Mitchell and Regina and Duncan Campbell here and so forth. We got fabulous media people in this room. So just show your product and people will respond and take it. Use the same kind of creativity and initiative you did to get it done to market it, and just keep going, because that's, no matter how good it is, unless you persevere, people aren't going to see it.
Was there someone?
Were you going to ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
My name is John Frazier. My wife Kelly and I were from the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. And Jerome, thank you for helping us to get to the event. Really appreciate that. And one of the things that we're doing to give back, we're also the Thrive coordinators for the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. And it's not necessarily a question, but I just want to say, if you're like me and us, and you're here wondering, how you can help, how you can get the word out, how you can make a difference, because, just being an individual, sometimes you think you really can't make an impact. We started getting some connections from the Thrive website, but then the interactivity, we created a Facebook page, and now that Facebook page is up to 60 people, and for $5, $6, whatever it is, you can pay to promote on Facebook, and we're reaching anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 people from their extended network. When I find videos on water fuel cars or any of the new technology things that I find, we post it on that site, and most of these people have never even heard of that technology. So now we're extending to people that have a like mind to their closer friends that have maybe not a like mind, but they're learning about this. So you can do that. You can do that for free, whether you do it through Thrive or you do it through your own Facebook site or something like. Create your own fan page to do that. And sometimes it feels like you're not making any effort, but you are, because we all have to individually. What do we have, about 200, 300 people in here? If we all reach 3,000 people, that's a lot of people. Okay, so anyway, that's my 2 cents to feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
There's a value to a virus these days in a way that maybe didn't exist in the past, and that's when things go viral. So your point is very well made. Yes. Sir, do you have a question that you wanted?
Yes, I have a microphone here.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes. My question is going to be directed to Michael Tellinger or Mr. Gamble. But before I say that, I just wanted to take a few moments. And Flores, you can keep me on point with just 2 minutes, okay? You've done such a great job of keeping people on there. What I want to say is I'm representing, and I'm speaking with you representing the people of color, people that are not represented here. I am a priest of the Yoruba people of West Africa. There's been a lot of discussion about Africa. My mother is half Blackfoot. I have lived among the Lakota people in South Africa. I have studied Hinduism. I now live on the weekend with Buddhists. I have submerged myself in indigenous cultures throughout the country and the world. I left a career in oil and gas as, it's an oxymoron, as an environmental specialist. I have worked for the largest seismic oil exploration company in the world, CGG Veritas. I have worked in the largest refineries in the world for air gas on-site safety services, and I quit that job a month ago. So, yes. So, I'm saying that to say that there is hope for us that are on the other side. I want to just speak just briefly, because out of respect for everyone that has something to say, in representing people that are unrepresented here. I think what these people are bringing to the planet is going to revolutionize those that need it the most. And I speak on their behalf and give you much gratitude and thanks. Much.
Thank you.
And being short, with my 1 minute left, I want to say that the people that affected me the most were the people that intertwined spirituality and technology. It's my belief that this conference, everyone that is here was meant to be here. I have forged relationships with people that I never thought I would. I have cried in the arms of people in different tents. That's how much love and how open my heart has become through this interaction. People like Stephen Ross. I lost a son, a father, and a mentor in 1 year, all to cancer, that used chemotherapy as their healing modality. Doesn't work, but he's got the clue. I just want to say that my heroes, like Foster Gamble and Michael Tellinger and Richard Dolan, I've been able to rub elbows and take pictures, and they've been open to talk to me, just like, I'm one of them. We all are equal. None of them are above us. This is about us as laymen as much as the inventors. I think this is part of the spiritual awakening. The inventions are simply a manifestation of that. So I'm going to move straight to my question that I think that has not been addressed enough. Thank you. I've got good news and bad news for the inventors. The good news is keep inventing, because we don't know when your inventions will become obsolete, because I am of the strong belief through diligent research that the ET phenomenon is real, and when they do return, they will bring the technology that will truly revolutionize the world. My question to these two gentlemen is, number one, why have the ETs not returned as of yet? What is the holdup?
How do you know we're not all ETs?
Well, let me say that. True.
What assumptions.
Right. Well, I do believe that we all are star seeds, and in some capacity through reincarnation, we have all been out there and are now here. So to either of these gentlemen, why have they not manifested themselves or revealed themselves in full to bring the conscious awareness as well as the technology to help solve our problems, as opposed to leaving it to ourselves?
Thank you for the question.
I surrender my time to my colleague from the cradle of civilization.
Take your time. Take your time, Mike. He's going to pretend the microphone's not working. Just hand him one of these.
Hello.
Oh.
I was going to say that, Foster. Listen, that is just an insanely complicated question. I don't think anybody has an answer, quite frankly. It is just so filled with possibilities. It is an exciting question. I would love to get into it, and that's a question that should launch a whole conference, actually. Really, because it is a very, I get that question all the time, and I don't have an answer for that. The only answer I have is, which of the 355 trillion ET races do you want to arrive here?
But Mike, I mean, just speaking here and just representing Homo sapiens sapien here for a minute, I'm not sure that we're waiting to be delivered unto anything.
Exactly.
And I think therein lies the rub. Yeah.
Well, that's right. Which of the infinite number of beings out there do we want to arrive here, and why do we think that they're not already here among us, working, helping us to bring events like this to fruition with this kind of energy? Remember, the consciousness seed that we're planting here is immeasurable. The ripple effect that leaves here on a on a never-ending basis cannot be measured, the effects of which we'll probably only see 1,000 years from now, when they'll be looking at these photographs. That's why when we are starting, Elisa was saying, taking pictures. Why are we taking pictures? I said, well, memories, because in future, when they're going to be looking at this, they're going to say, look how happy they were when they were putting all these crazy ideas down about free energy. God, those poor people, they had no free energy. I can't believe it. How did they do it? How did they live? So these are the seeds that we're planting here are immeasurable. That's true. That's how I feel. And I'm incredibly honored and privileged to be with these incredible people. Every one of you that is here, all those people that are watching at home via the streaming, this is a historic moment, not just for humanity, but for the entire universal family of conscious beings that have been waiting for us to do this, for us to step into that arena, not to deliver us from evil.
Thank you, Michael. So, please do comment, please.
I just wanted to add one more thing in that I believe that we are experiencing a multidimensional consciousness, and there's a great example of that here. But part of that awakening to our own multidimensional selves is realizing that we are Stardust, and that I am here, and that we're all here to do this work right now. So in that sense, yes, and yes, and yes.
And welcome to the Star Wars bar.
We've got one question over there from my hugger.
Alini?
My hugger. She offered me one hug per day. I've cashed in two. I
You
have
skipped
one
yours
remaining.
yesterday. It's not much of a question as much as it is to just bring a little more of the feminine energy, because I feel a lot of masculine being bounced around.
Obrigado.
So yeah, I just want us to really remember the heart space that we're feeling right now, and this love and this beam that like shines through this magical bubble that GlobalBEM have created for us. And let's honor the connections that we're making here. Let's honor this heart space that we're in right now, and let's take it outside. Let's remember the business cards that we got, the people that we connected with, and let's just remember that and just keep carrying this outside of here when this ends.
Thank you. At the risk of being swamped by females and by fellows of color, I'm going to ask you to ask your question, my good friend. I know you're quarter Irish, so you don't fully qualify.
But I also just want to give thanks to the great feminine here, both embodied by the women and the men. Thank you, truly. And it is really in that heart space that we will progress forward in an intelligent way. So thank you very much, Alini.
I was very happy to hear Dr. John Martin, isn't it?
David Martin.
David Martin. I should get that. I'm David as well. Talk about the enslavement we're under. It's a comment and a question, really. I was a free man on the land for some time, so I've actually thought about how to do this and actually done it myself. The way I see it is that to escape, or not escape as such, but to become less of a valued commodity to our enslavers, the way to do it is to reduce our dependence on their system. Okay, and the way I thought about it is to reverse the paradigm that we're under. The paradigm is that we work for 2/3 of our lives and spend very little time doing what we want to do and spending time with our families. What about reversing that? Work for 3 months, and this is what I did. I worked hard for 3 months and then took 9 months off. And in that 9 months, to see how long I could last, in that 9 months. And I managed it. And after that 9 months, I thought, well, okay, I'll go and do another 3 months. And the things that I learned in that 9 months, I could probably extend it for a year. But I got so into not working, not doing that I didn't go back. because I'd learned so much, I didn't go back. So this is one way that we can just start just by reversing that paradigm. So, so the question I had to you is, do you have any ideas to be for us to become less worthy?
Dave, sorry to do this. Keep it to 60 seconds.
I'll do it in 30 seconds.
Good.
I actually showed you yesterday in the presentation that 6-color wheel, the 6 values that we measure in our organization. And I will tell you that one of the things that I consciously decided to do was actually reduce absolutely my reliance on money. And I mean absolutely. I have the good fortune of being the CEO of one of the largest finance companies on earth, and I have no predictable or usual or present salary. And that is because if I'm going to promote this, I actually live it. I love what you said. The fact is, I don't collect a salary. I don't withdraw things. When I need provisions, I actually take what I need, but I actually don't have an expectation built on that. And the fact of the matter is, the minute we start emancipating ourselves from an expectation illusion, then you can actually go in and say, why am I so freaking passionate? I'm passionate because I'm doing what I love to do, not what somebody transacted for me to do. And that's the difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I just want to, yes. I want to addend that by a quote of George Burns, who's also AKA known as God. And he said that when I find what it is I love to do, I'll never work another day in my life.
Patty Greer had a question, and I owe her one. She's got the mic.
Please.
A hug? I wanted to answer the gentleman that's a filmmaker. I have made 5 crop circle movies. I am so in love with the work that I do. And I just really want to encourage filmmakers to be extremely careful right now. My movies are hidden from the world, and I don't want it to happen to others. So be really, really careful. And I'm going to learn to do my own distributing now, but it's a really urgent time where we don't want to lose our science projects that are here to help the world. I'm probably the only filmmaker that's filmed the balls of light making the crop circles, and I say this kind of openly, but I do believe they're real. I've been in more than 100 of them, and my movies should not be hidden today, but they are.
Bravo.
So I am here with my camera. I am kicking booty because I am committed, and nothing else is this important in my life than to bring the truth to the world, and I'm going to do it. I am on it, and I'm in it. Thank you.
Jeroen.
I love you guys.
Jeroen, are you in the house?
How are your films suppressed? In what way did you sell it?
Talk. I encourage talk after. So we can...
Hey,
You're going to
keep
have
this,
to talk
please.
after.
Guys, you're going to have to speak
because
after this.
You can have one more question.
In fact, we have to wrap this up because we've been given signals to wrap it up, and we have a major expression of gratitude to give to Jeroen, to Robert,
Maddie,
to Maddie, to Stefani, and to all of those who have helped to put this together. Yeah. Jeroen, would you please come up? And Robert and Maddie, please come up and take a bow and a curtsy. Beautiful. Please come up. Be seen. Be seen. Fernando. Beautiful. And let's also say this is a moment just to sneak this in that anyone who would like to can go to the GlobalBEM website and make a donation of whatever sort, doesn't matter, but to help to support this movement.
Maddie, where are you? Okay.
Is this, yeah, this is working. First of all, I miss a lot of faces of the volunteers. So Christy, and the rest of the volunteers that helped us with the 3 days. Doc, Daryl, Terry.
Terry.
And there's a lot more. Mike. Angela, where are you? Sean. Randy Mawkins, Michael Chichi. And I don't have to call your name. You know if you helped or not. So, yeah. I also want to have another person here on stage, John Colho. Can you join us? Yeah, no more volunteers in the public. Hessel, Lex, Flores, Johan.
All of you.
Most of the time, the Dutch are always the first, but... Okay, I'm going to keep this short, and that is out of respect to the technical guys, who I want to thank first. These are people who made long days these days. I want to give them a round of applause. The people from Alpine and Two Square. I also want to thank the people from all events. These tents, I think you heard a horror story that we had 2 days ago, that we really, literally had to save the conference with our own hands, keeping this tent with over 10 people really holding the structure together. And these two guys worked their butt off. I also want to thank the security guard that had duty that evening, because without him it was also a total disaster. Okay, here goes the list, most of the time people end with this. They're pleading for donations or funding, and this is the part that I hate the most. So I'm going to begin with it. And that's for free to everybody to decide if they're gonna make a donation to us. It will help a lot. And if you want a better conference and you want it sooner than a year, then we're gonna work our butts off. But that means that we need funding, because all the people that you see here on stage who helped us have normal jobs on the side. And we can do a much better job even than this. So if you think that this is the umbrella solution, and like Gerald Salanti likes to call it, the next big thing and the game changer that we're waiting for, and if you understand that, then please make a small donation. It doesn't matter what. Go to our website. There's a donate button. I got the strangest email today. Somebody wrote to me, the word donation is in another language and I don't understand it. So can you please explain me where to make a donation? Yeah. There is a donate button there. But that was just funny to me. It was the most... Okay, now here we go. And I'm gonna forget people. And I only got one angry email the last conference from somebody who was upset because I didn't mention them.
Who was that? Mention them now.
No. And I'm also not gonna say anything about the University of Colorado. So here we go, and I'm gonna forget people, but I would like to thank, first of all, the New Energy Movement, Gene, Joel, John Colho, one of the biggest activists around there. If somebody is busy with getting the word out, it's this guy. Please subscribe to his newsletter and stay in touch with what's going on. I also want to thank Todd Riedel. He's not here. Todd, get your butt into the movement again, man. I know that you're gonna see this sooner or later. So I hope that you're gonna join us again. So Revolution Green is another partner of us. It was set up by Mark Dancy and Ken LeBron, another big new kid on the block that I think they're doing good work. Of course, Sterling Allen, PESWiki, big respect. All the years of hard work that he put in, and it's another big one. We've got Nest, New Energy Trust, Example Zero, Humanitet from Sacha Stone, and now the New Earth Project. That's gonna be another big one. Then we've got Thrive, of course, from Foster. ColdFusionNow.org from Ruby Garret. Great website, and James Martinez. We've got the Tesla Science Foundation from Sam Mason. And it's a pity that he didn't explain more about this Tesla Foundation, but they've got a couple of cool projects coming up. A Tesla Science Foundation museum. They're involved in that the Tesla Tower is gonna be rebuilt. The Serbian government is putting more on the line than most people are aware of, and the Serbian royals, the Prince of Serbia. Do I say that correctly, Sam, or not? Okay. So follow the Tesla Science Foundation. Searle Group, A Better World Radio from Mitchell Rabin. Earth Matters, a Dutch website that have supported me throughout the years. Activism Media, Lisa Clepier. There she is. Hey. Come on. I would like to thank all the speakers who have supported us with promotion clips, Zero Fossil Fuel, Ross Grease, and all the others who did promotion for this conference. Red Eyes Radio, our friends from Europe. Lana and Henrik, they were so busy with other projects that they couldn't be so involved this time, but they're going to be involved in the future. And I would like to encourage everybody, if you want to stay in tune what's really going on, become a subscriber from Red Eyes, Veritas, and Coast to Coast. And I would like to address Coast to Coast. Now, this is the second time that I'm doing a GlobalBEM conference, and we've tried now for 2 years to come on Coast to Coast with one of our speakers, and it didn't happen. So George Newry, next time we're going to be on your program at least with one speaker, if you are in tune what's going on in the world. I would like to thank all the Indiegogo supporters that we had who paid for the flights of all these speakers. That was a big help. I would like to point out our Pulse magazine. I already addressed it yesterday. The tall gentleman there on the left, who's putting his financial means in that magazine. So please subscribe to that. I would like, and I haven't mentioned him all conference, we've got our own podcast show running, and we've done now 3 shows. It is hosted by Rennie Morgans, who was also there on the left. And we invite all the speakers and everybody else who wants to be on that show. It's another way to get the word out, and I have deep respect for Randy that he was so patient with us. Setting the whole thing up. Mutual. Yeah. So, and that show is called Transmissions. Now we've got another John in our midst. He's most of the time in the back. Where are you, John? Facebook John. Here he is. Yeah. John, I did the Facebook, and Barry, who is in Holland still, and we did it our way, and we had like 2,000 likes. When John came on board, finally, after the third time that I asked him, because he knows his way on Facebook to get more likes and get more people interested. And it's not only about that like, it's when they like you, you can reach them. and then it's up to them if they're gonna read it or not. But you can reach them. 8,000 in so he increased us in 1.5 months with 6,000 likes, and he even got some software for that if you're interested that he would like to bring to the world. Well, what was the name again? I would like to thank the World Research Foundation from Stephen Ross. my new friend, here you are. You're lovely. Let's see, what else do we have? I would like to thank our two hosts, Regina Meredith. And in my own team, I said it would be cool if we could have Jason Verbelli on as a host, because he's a young guy and he speaks the language of the young people. And then Regina, I had a conversation a week later with Regina, and I said, yeah, I'm still thinking about a second host. And then she said, you should take Jason Verbelli. So I said, okay, that is agreed. I would like to thank our team back in Holland. Alexandra, hello. Come on. We still have some people back in Holland who are doing a good work for us. They just didn't have the financial means to come here. We are here with, my guess is like 10 people from Holland who are in our team and supported us. So. What else? Of course, I want to thank all the volunteers that were involved. And we had like 15 or something of them. Great work. Now, my last conference was saved by a woman. That was my angel supporter then, who really financed the whole conference, and even financed us 3 months after the conference to set things up for this conference. And she knows who she is. She is here. I would like to give her a big thank you. I owe her a lot. This year we were also saved by a woman, Barbara Schies. She's watching online now on the stream. She came in at the last moment, offering her savings basically to help us out.
Wow.
So.
Give her a hand.
There is one more woman, of course, to mention, because she supported me throughout my life. She is also watching online, I'm sure. That's my mom. The biggest mistake that I made with this conference was not invest a little bit more money in getting her butt over here, because she would handle that ticket registration by herself. And of course, the last woman that I really gonna finish with before we go into a little different thing is my girlfriend and wife since 2.5 weeks. Now, 2 more things before I give the mic.
Just one more woman, Crystal, who headed up.
Yes, that's who we wanted to add. Oh, Crystal, Amanda, Martina Hoffman, all the visionary artists, including the presence of Robert Venosa, Andrew Jones, that you see in the walls back there. They've given us a vision of what humanity can be, what we can look like when we're interdimensional.
Right.
Yeah.
So visualize that art tent to be 10 times bigger at our next conference.
Now, I got a lot of questions today. Where's going to be the next conference? My intention is that we're going to do it annually here in Boulder. Now, if finally the financial support comes for GlobalBEM, that I can do this 24/7 and I can pick a team that we're going to do that, I think we can pull off 2 conferences, and one is going to be annual in Boulder, and another one is going to be in another country. I had a private conversation today with Michael Tellinger. I also said that on my last conference in Holland. The intention is still that we're going to do the next conference, one of those 2 next conferences in South Africa. Now, I still got one group of people to thank, and let's see if they're already here. Derek, are you here with your team?
Derek
Come on up.
Zulek.
Come on up.
The owner, proprietor of Days Hotel. The Days Hotel staff.
Now he is the living proof that consciousness is on our side, because the university, it went wrong there. Stefani and Fernando were searching for locations for almost a week. And then Derek popped the question, why don't we do it here at my hotel? We put some tents up on our parking lot. I'm going to offer my hotel on a discount rate and everything. We will worry about the finances later. Just do it. And that... We had a discussion, how can we thank Derek? Are we going to take stroopwafels from Holland or chocolate from Belgium or anything? And then somebody said to me, no, I've got a cool idea. And I would like to ask Daniel and Erica to come forward. Is Erica also in the house? Here she comes.
You're diminishing our audience. Can you stop it now, please?
And I'm gonna give the word to Daniel, because I think this is a really cool present that symbolizes it all, and to let you remember where you did it for, and that's one of Daniel's
This is a small
calls.
token of our affection for having us with warm embrace here in your facility. Thank you so much. It's been quite an honor.
Now I want to close up with 2 things. That is a poem, and there was another. Morgan, where's your boyfriend? Right here. Come on up. Come on up. We're gonna end this conference in an artistic way. I would like to end it with a poem from this gentleman, and you came up to me that you also wanted to do something small for us. So give it a shot.
This is a great honor. Thank you all. Speaking to Genesis, the light that'll shine through these beacon sentences. Seekers and dreamers, these rhymes will reach your minds with emphasis. Deliverance from prison like Icarus when we're flying like Mayans. This is our mission, nutrition for every mind. Stay consistent with every line into shifting this paradigm, encrypting ancient sacred teachings and preaching them for the guides. We are uplifting and assisting the synthesis of our tribe to provide the impetus for engineered ignorance to subside. Now step inside the minds that wind and grind in time with beats and rhymes, seek sublime and strive to stay aligned with source to speak divine. Probably some prophecies, metaphorical oracles jocking these philosophies from our historic immortal souls. Star-seeded through some portal holes to balance this equation. Transcend our fears and dare to awaken our generation. Despite all the limitations and foolish sick desecrations, together we will end these illusions of separation. Bravo. Thank you.
That's a tough act to follow. My name's Don Daniels. My business card says pilot, mystic, philosopher, poet, and ambassador to the universe. I can probably shorten that to just free radical. This is a poem I wrote back in 2003, and it's coming true now. But I want to do something very special. I want every one of you to do the last word of this poem. You'll know it when it comes. It's called Power for the People. Burning fossil fuels is quite bad. It makes Mother Earth feel very sad. Zero-point energy is the elegant solution to most of mankind's awful pollution. Clean distributed energy can help repair much of humankind's current despair. It can eliminate many of the reasons for this stupid thing that we call war. We can then come out of our shell, and many things will start to get well. Streams will run clean, the air will clear. Humanity will then have much less to fear. A vision of great hope and elation will benefit each and every nation. Peoples will learn how to get along, and mankind will lift its voice in glorious song. Peace and prosperity, better health for all. Clean, free energy can prevent civilization's disastrous fall. A much brighter future our grandchildren will see, all because we have the courage to make energy
I'm not going to forget you, but we're going to do that in a different way. Okay? Okay. See you next year or next time.